Hey guys, Miss Erin here. So we are probably going to finish up Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone this week. So we're going to start with chapter 16, Through the Trap Door. There's a picture for it, yeah. In years to come, Harry would never quite remember how he managed to get through his exams when he half expected Voldemort to come bursting through the door at any moment. Yet days crept by, and there would be no doubt that Fluffy was still alive and well behind the locked door. It was swelteringly hot, especially in the large classroom where they did their written papers. They had been given special new quills for the exam, which had been bewitched with an anti-cheating spell. They had practical exams as well. Professor Flitwick called them one by one into his class to see if they could make a pineapple tap dance across the desk. Professor McGonagall watched them turn a mouse into a snuff box. Points were given for how pretty the snuff box was, but taken away if it had whiskers. Snape made them all nervous, breathing down their necks when they tried to remember how to make a forgetfulness potion. Harry did the best he could, trying to ignore the stabbing pains in his forehead, which had bothered him ever since his trip into the forest. Neville thought Harry had a bad case of exam nerves because Harry couldn't sleep. But the truth was that Harry kept being awoken by his nightmare, except that now it was worse than ever, because there was a hooded figure dripping blood in it. Maybe it was because they hadn't seen what Harry had seen in the forest, or because they didn't have the scars burning on their foreheads, but Ron and Hermione didn't seem as worried about the stone as Harry. The idea of Voldemort certainly scared them, but he didn't keep visiting them in the dreams. They were so busy with their revision that it didn't matter much that they had time to fret about what Snape or anybody else might be up to. Their very last exam was History of Magic. 1 hour of answering questions about old batty wizards who invented self-stirring cauldrons, and they would be free for a whole wonderful week until their exam results came out. When the ghost of Professor Binns told them to put down their quills and roll up their parchment, Harry couldn't help but cheering with the rest. "That was far easier than I thought it would be," said Hermione, as they joined the crowds flocking out into the sunny grounds. "I needn't have learned about the 1637 werewolf code of conduct or the uprising of Elfric the Eager." Hermione always liked to go through their exam papers afterwards, but Ron said this made him feel ill, so they wandered down to the lake and flopped under a tree. The Weasley twins and Lee Jordan were tickling the tentacles of a giant squid, which was basking in the warm shallows. "No more revision," Ron sighed happily, stretching out on the grass. "You look more cheerful, Harry. We've got a week before we find out how badly we've done. No need to worry yet." Harry was rubbing his forehead. "I wish I knew what it meant," he burst out angrily. "My scar keeps hurting. It's happened before, but never as often as this." "Go to Madame Pomfrey," Hermione suggested. "I'm not ill," said Harry. "I think it's a warning. I think it means danger's coming." Ron couldn't get worked up. It was too hot. "Harry, relax. Hermione's right. The stone is safe as long as Dumbledore's around. Anyway, we've never had any proof that Snape found out how to get past Fluffy. He nearly had his leg ripped off once, and he's not going to try again in a hurry. And Neville will play Quidditch for England before Hagrid lets Dumbledore down." Harry nodded, but he couldn't help shaking off a lurking feeling that there was something that he had forgotten to do, something important. When he tried to explain this, Hermione said, "That's just the exams. I woke up last night, halfway through my Transfiguration notes, before I remembered we had already done that one." Harry was quite sure the unsettled feeling didn't have anything to do with work, though. He watched an owl flutter towards the school across the bright blue sky and a note clamped in its mouth. Hagrid was the only one who ever sent him letters. Hagrid would never betray Dumbledore. Hagrid would never tell anybody how to get past Fluffy. Never, ever, but... Harry suddenly jumped to his feet. "Where are you going?" said Ron sleepily. "I just thought of something," said Harry. He had gone white. "We've got to go and see Hagrid now." "Why?" panted Hermione. "Don't you think it's a bit odd," said Harry, "that Hagrid wants anything more than anything else in the world is a dragon, and a stranger turns up who just happens to have a dragon egg in its pocket? How many people wander around with dragon eggs if it's against wizard law? Luckily they found Hagrid, don't you think? Why didn't I see it before?" "What are you on about?" said Ron, but Harry, sprinting across the grounds towards the forest, didn't answer. Hagrid was sitting in an armchair outside his house. His trousers and sleeves were rolled up, and he was shelling peas into a large bowl. "Hello," he said. "Finish your exams? You got time for a drink?" "Yes, please," said Ron, but Harry cut him across. "No, we're in a hurry, Hagrid. I've got to ask you something. You know the night you won Norbert? What did the stranger you were playing cards with look like?" "I don't know," said Hagrid casually. He wouldn't take off his cloak. "It's not that unusual. You get lots of funny folk in Hogshead. One of the pubs down in the village. Might have been a dragon dealer. I never saw his face. He kept his hood up." Harry sat down next to the bowl of peas. "What did you talk to him about, Hagrid? Did you mention Hogwarts at all?" "Might have come up," said Hagrid, frowning as he tried to remember. "Yeah, he asked what I did, and I told him I was a gamekeeper. He asked a bit about the sort of creatures I looked after, so I told him. And I said what I always really wanted was a dragon. And then I can't remember too well because he kept buying me drinks and, let's see. Yeah, then he said he had the dragon egg and he would play cards for it if I wanted, but he had to be sure that I could handle it. He didn't want it to go to any old home, you know? So I told him after Fluffy, a dragon would be easy." "And did he seem interested in Fluffy?" Harry asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "Well, yeah. How many three-headed dogs have you met, even at Hogwarts?" So I told him, "Fluffy's a piece of cake if you know how to calm him down. You just play him a bit of music and he'll go straight to sleep." Hagrid suddenly looked horrified. "I shouldn't have told you that," he blurted out. "Forget I said it. Hey, where are you going?" Harry, Ron, and Hermione didn't speak to each other at all until they came to a halt in the entrance hall, which seemed very cold and gloomy after the grounds. "We've got to go to Dumbledore," said Harry. "Hagrid told that stranger how to get past Fluffy, and it was either Snape or Voldemort under that cloak. It must have been easy once he got Hagrid drunk. I hope Dumbledore believes us. Firenze might back us up if Bane doesn't stop him. Where's Dumbledore's office?" They looked around, as if hoping to see a sign pointing them in the right direction. They had never been told where Dumbledore lived, nor did they know anyone who might have been able to see him. "Well, we'll just have to," Harry began, but a voice suddenly rang across the hall. "What are you three doing inside?" It was Professor McGonagall carrying a large pile of books. "We want to see Professor Dumbledore," said Hermione, rather bravely. Harry and Ron thought. "See Professor Dumbledore?" Professor McGonagall repeated. "Why?" Harry swallowed. Now what? "Well, it's sort of a secret," he said, but he wished at once he had it because Professor McGonagall's nostrils flared. Professor Dumbledore left 10 minutes ago," she said coldly. "He's received an urgent owl from the Ministry of Magic and flew off for London at once." "He's gone?" said Harry frantically. "Now?" "Professor Dumbledore is a very great wizard, Potter. He has many demands of his time. But this is important. Something you have to say is more important than the Ministry of Magic, Potter." "Look," said Harry, "Professor, it's about the Sorcerer's Stone." Whatever Professor McGonagall had expected was not that. The books she was carrying tumbled out of her arms, but she did not pick them up. "How do you know?" she sputtered. "Professor, I know that somebody's trying to steal the stone. I've got to talk to Professor Dumbledore." She eyed him with a mixture of shock and suspicion. "Dumbledore will be back tomorrow," she said finally. "I don't know how you found out about the stone, but rest assured, no one could possibly steal it. It is too well protected." "But Professor..." "Potter, I know what I'm talking about," she said shortly. She bent down and gathered up her books. "I suggest you all go back outside and enjoy the sunshine." But they didn't. "It's tonight," said Harry, once he was sure McGonagall was out of earshot. "Snape's going through the trapdoor tonight. He's found everything he needs, and now he's got Dumbledore out of the way. He sent that note. I bet it's the Ministry of Magic. We'll get a real shock when Dumbledore turns up." "But what can we..." Hermione gasped. Harry and Ron wheeled around. Snape was standing there. "Good afternoon," he said smoothly. They stared at him. "You shouldn't be inside on a day like this," he said with an odd, twisted smile. Harry began without any idea what he was going to say. You want to be more careful, said Snape. Hanging around like this, people will think you're up to something. And Gryffindor really can't afford to lose any more points, can they? Harry flushed. They turned to go back outside, but Snape called after them. Be warned, Potter. Any more nighttime wanderings, and I will personally make sure you are expelled. Good day to you all. He strode off in the direction of the staff room. All right, we will continue.